So welcome to a Playing Lately. These are the games that I'm playing right now, and you might think, what is this? Smurfs Mission Via Leaf. Yes, it's a Smurfs 3D platforming game. If you're a fan of 3D platformers like I am, there aren't that many anymore. They're all 2D platforming games, and I'm tired of the 2D platforming genre. I want more 3D platformers like Jak and Daxter, like Ratchet and Clank, like Psychonauts 2, and this is one that I think is very good. Not because it's a Smurfs game, but because it's a good 3D platformer and it stays true to the source material. It's not just a game with Smurfs in it. It's a really good game if you're a fan of 80s cartoons and the Smurfs. So you've got Papa Smurf, you've got Smurfette, you've got Handy, you've got Hefty, and it's essentially the goal of the game is to traverse through a level, a 3D platforming level, and to heal the forest that the Smurfs live in. It's almost like a Luigi's Mansion type of game with a vacuum cleaner, but instead of sucking things in, you're blowing this sort of pesticide or something like that out and healing the grass and the trees and stuff like that. So nothing too extreme. It's a great game if you have kids. You can just sit them in front of it, not worry about it. And it's a great game if you're an older gamer who loves 3D platforming. You know, I think it's beautiful. Check out the graphics. It looks absolutely incredible. Of course, the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 version of the game will be better looking than the Switch version of the game, but there is a Switch version, there's a PlayStation version, there's an Xbox version. So if you're a fan of, you know, like I said, the games like Jak and Daxter, the games like Ratchet and Clank, even earlier 3D platforming games, this is one that I think you're going to really love. Sometimes it's fun to just sit down with a game that isn't too difficult and just have a lot of fun, something that's well crafted, that stays true to the source material, the Smurfs, and there's still a bit of challenge here. You have to sort of judge those jumps in a 3D space. So if you grew up playing, you know, from Super Mario 64 on to the 3D platformers, and you learned how to judge these jumps like this, there's still a lot of fun to be had in games like this, and it's nice to just sit down and play a game that you don't have to learn, you know, 50 different button combinations or anything like that. That's constructed really well, that looks really good, and it's just fun and whimsical. And I think this is a game that flew under the radar. Nobody talked about this game at all. I didn't see it anywhere, but it did pretty well in terms of review scores, and most of the people that I've seen that have played this game really, really enjoy it. Again, it's a game for fans of this particular genre, 3D platforming. I love this type of game, the running, the jumping, the judging distance, the light combat, and just the exploration in a world that's really cool. It's fun looking back at the Smurfs. When I was playing it, I was thinking about, you know, Saturday and Sunday morning cartoons, waking up, loving watching all of those shows, and of course the Smurfs, and then the theme song popped into my head and I was humming it. I sounded like an idiot, but it's just a lot of fun and I think you'll love it. Next up, of course, is God of War Ragnarok. This game is the extreme end of the first game we talked about, Smurfs. So the pinnacle of graphics and games and gameplay today on consoles, this is the game, God of War Ragnarok. It is so good, and it's just so engaging. The story, I don't know what it is about it, but you just have to keep coming back. And it starts off, I will be honest, there's two parts where you play as Atreus. The first part I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I want to play as Atreus. I want to get back to Kratos. But this second part here, you really start to get a sense that something's going on with Atreus. It's really engaging and you want to see what happens next. And I have to say that I was just struck with how amazing all the characters in this game are, even like characters that don't matter. I'm walking through a level and there's this like lizard sitting on a rock. It's just there. And you go into photo mode, which was included recently, and zoom in, and there's so much detail just on that, something that you pass by in a few seconds. When I look at all of the other characters and the way that they're written and the way that the voice actors convey who they are, it's so engaging. I mean, look at this. I loved the presentation, and going from one environment to the next like this, just really, my jaw just hit the floor when I was playing this game, and I'm still trying to get to the end. It's hard when you're bouncing between so many games, when you want to try so much, but if you've got a PlayStation 5 or even a PlayStation 4, that's the thing. This is a game based on PlayStation 4 technology, and I'm sitting here thinking, man, if I just bought a PlayStation 4 at launch and I still had it, think about the value there. It's incredible, but Of course, this game looks fantastic on the PlayStation 5. If you've got a PlayStation 5, you have to have this game. A PlayStation 4, you have to have this game. It is absolutely an incredible experience. And it's one of those games that sort of gets you excited. You wait for them. It's almost like those midnight releases way back in the day where you go to the store, you would stand outside in the line, you couldn't wait to get your copy of a game as soon as it came out, and then you took it home with you. Now we're in an age of digital distribution, and all of that sort of feeling is gone, but it's still nice if you purchase the game digitally to be able to play it at 12:01. I actually did that, and I waited up. I was excited. It was almost like that midnight launch. So that feeling is still kind of there, the excitement of engaging with the game as soon as it comes out. And very few games do that. It's always these big first-party games that everyone waits for. If you've got your PlayStation or your Xbox or your Nintendo, you just wait for those games. This is one of them. It does so much better than the original in 2018. It's weird saying original because I think of the original God of War on the PlayStation 2, but the reimagining, the original of that in 2018, it adds to it. You can upgrade everything, your armor, your weapons, it's just so deep. And if you take your time and you explore, there's so much here to love. They've done a great job. I cannot imagine what the studio, Sony Santa Monica, is going to do exclusively on the PlayStation 5, but if they do things this great with the PlayStation 4, translating to PlayStation 5, I can't wait to see what's next. Next up is my personal game of the year, and that's Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This game is absolutely amazing. First off, yep, this is running on the Switch. Take a look at it. It is perfect. Frame rate, everything. Very little pop-in. Great game. The combat is something that you have to get used to. It's an auto combat, so if you're not doing anything, your characters are going to attack based on how you've upgraded them. But you can also, during combat, pick certain types of attacks that you have at your disposal. Some of them work well from the front, some of them work better from the side, and some of them work better from the rear. And you can do all of that in real time. The story is great. You don't need to play the other games in the series before you play this one. And the world just pulls you in. You want to explore. And the party system is great. It's wonderful to upgrade all of these characters, to see the different costumes and the different combat, the different weapons that you can use, the different spells that you can use. It's just so deep and so much fun. Now, you might think that it's a bit cumbersome or that there's so much to do that you'll get lost. It's not like that at all. You can play it any way you want. You can choose any difficulty that you want, and I like that in games. I'm not one of these people that think that every game has to be difficult and you shouldn't have an option. No problem with that. If you're interested in this series and you wanted to check it out, there's no reason not to start with this one if you haven't played the others. However, I think that once you play this, if you really enjoy it, you're going to want to go back and play those other games. This is one of the best action JRPGs that I've played in a long time, almost ever. I think that it will take some getting used to when it comes to the auto attack. You can literally just stand there and let your characters attack based on the skills that you've assigned to them. So their auto attacks range from, really, really minimal to really, really powerful as you upgrade them. But you can also go deeper into the combat system and assign more powerful attacks, and you can trigger those whenever you want. And there's a really cool fusion ability. Each character sort of has an affinity for another, and then you can become this more powerful being. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot to do in this game. The combat system, once you get used to it, it's really good. The exploration is there. The story is there. The world is extremely beautiful. I'm just in love with this game. I think that, if you're a fan of the genre, this is a must play. And I think that out of all the games that have come out this year, I said this is my personal game of the year because, one, I think it's just extremely, extremely well done. And I do think that God of War is up there as well. It's a toss-up. I originally said it was my game of the year, but now that I think about it as I make this video, it's sort of a toss-up between those two. But either way, you can't go wrong with the games that I'm playing here recently. Let me know if you played any of these games. Let me know what you think about the games or the video. Think about liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.